Hello, I'm Jon Delano, KDKA-TV political editor. Thanks for joining us for Inside Pennsylvania Politics. Today we're taking stock of the presidential race in the Democratic National Convention with just 2.5 months to go until November 5th. We have assembled a panel of young politically active Pennsylvanians from diverse backgrounds and opinions. Elections are about the future, so who better to talk about that than the young? So when we designed this show, I said we only need one old guy on the panel. That's me. Everyone else is a few decades younger. Joining us on the left side of our panel, Shelley Pikelik, Mount Lebanon Democrat and mom of 5, and Connor Hayes, North Side attorney and member of the LGBTQ+ Rights Committee of the Allegheny County Bar Association. Joining us on the right side of our panel, Dylan Mitchell, Pitt Senior and Vice President of the College Republicans at the University of Pittsburgh, and Isabella Russo, Oakmont Republican and member of the Allegheny County Council of Republican Women. Now, the Democratic National Convention in Chicago has been a nightly spectacle of speeches from current and future party leaders. We're recording this before the end of the event, so we'll be back again next week to wrap up the convention once and for all. Two of the biggest headliners so far were from the party's past, former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. Let's take a listen.
Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
In this new economy, we need a president who actually cares about the millions of people all across this country who wake up every single day to do the essential, often thankless work, to care for our sick, to clean our streets, to deliver our packages. We need a president who will stand up for their right to bargain for better wages and working conditions. And Kamala will be that president.
So, since Harris became the nominee, we've seen comparisons of the energy among Democrats to 2008. That's when Barack Obama was nominated. So let's start with the Democrats. Shelley, do you think there's real momentum coming out of this convention?
I do. I think there was momentum leading into it, and the convention has only increased that momentum. Tuesday night was a great night, in particular with the Obamas, as we saw, and I think people are even more excited than they were leading into the convention.
But of course, Connor, the Obamas even themselves warned that this could just be a flash, and we could get back to normality in politics and people getting upset over things. What do you think? Is this a momentum that can last?
I think it very much could be. I think there really is excitement among young people for this new campaign, and I think we're also kind of in uncharted waters here with a candidate jumping in so late in the race. So it's hard to say, oh, this could fade when we really only have a short time before the election.
Well, that's certainly true. There is only 2 months plus till the election day. That's so hard to believe when you think about it. Isabella, from a Republican perspective, how do you think the Democrats are doing in this convention?
I mean, I think I agree with both of them. I think there is a lot of momentum going into it. Do I think that's only going to last for a certain amount of time? Yes. You know, we saw back at the RNC, there was a ton of momentum too, and it kind of died down a little bit. This is a great opportunity for people to see both sides, what they can bring to the table and who's representing each party. So I think, yeah, right now it's going good, but I think it's going to die down eventually.
What do you think, Don?
Yeah, I think the news cycle at this point is so quick. I mean, we've already forgotten the attempted assassination of former President Trump, and it's been 32 days since she's been the nominee, hasn't taken a single really serious question from any opposition. So, you know, I think that momentum is going to die down when she starts to actually have to talk policy. They're just really excited that the guy they all voted for isn't running anymore. So that momentum is here and now, but when she actually has to answer some real questions and go on stage and debate, I think that's going to change pretty quickly.
Well, let me stick with you and ask this question, because obviously you came out of the Republican convention on a high, and I think a lot of people will feel the same about the Democratic convention. So do conventions really matter anymore? What do you think?
I think they're like a fun little celebration, and they give a couple of sound bites. The most people are going to remember from it is those 10-second clips that are going to air on campaign ads and everything. But I think the debate, the actual policies that are going to be put into place here, because they're going to have to answer some real questions about how she's flip-flopped on so many things eventually. That's what's really going to matter in November.
Are young people watching this convention?
I think they are. You know, I think at the end of the day, young people do care, and we know that we are the future of this country. So yeah, I definitely think they're watching it.
What do you guys think? Same question. Do these conventions kind of really matter anymore?
I think they do. I mean, I think even in this digital age, canvassing, door knocking, things like that still matter, and these conventions can be huge for energizing the base, getting people excited about a campaign,
right,
and getting them out on the campaign trail.
There is a different way to reach young people. It's not on television all the time, as sad as I am to admit that. There are other mechanisms. My son tells me he gets his political news on TikTok, which drives me nuts. But is the convention reaching people, young people?
I think it is. Again, I think Tuesday night people were particularly energized to tune in and watch the Obamas. But I think that these conventions aren't necessarily about people sitting down, you know, when they start in the evening and watching them through till the end of the night anymore. But they are providing those sound bites, those clips, those things that are turning up on TikTok and Instagram, and the things that young people are tuning into.
Yeah, bottom line is convention becomes a source material.
Exactly right.
For 10-second sound bites somewhere.
It's true.
Media. Well, you know, Pennsylvania made its mark on the DNC as part of the roll call of states casting their delegates' votes to the strains of Motown Philly and Black and Yellow. Mayor Dwan Walker of Aliquippa introduced the Commonwealth. Take a listen.
My city's a city of legends, the only high school in America with 3 Hall of Famers. I took this seat in 2009 when my sister was murdered. I wanted to do better. 15 years she's been gone. 12 years this city has been under my watch. I'm grateful for the opportunity to lead my city. I'm grateful for the state of Pennsylvania. God bless everyone in this room. I love this state. Thank you.
I'm Governor Jon Shapiro. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the birthplace of democracy, the birthplace of freedom, the greatest Commonwealth of all. And together, Pennsylvania cast 178 votes for the next Madam President of the United States, Kamala Harris, and Vice President Tim Walz.
You know, every time I see that, I just have to start laughing because, I mean, obviously, this is dramatic. It's always dramatic. So let me, there we go. There's a CBS poll that I saw recently that suggested that really in the state of Pennsylvania, it was a 50% to 50%, a dead tie in Pennsylvania. So let me ask our panelists, what do you think needs to be done in order for one of these two candidates to break the tie and move on to win? So, Shelley, let me start with you.
Sure.
What is the key to Democrats winning Pennsylvania?
Well, let's say first that Democrats are going to have to work a lot harder than they would have if Josh Shapiro had been chosen as her running mate. Probably there's going to be more money spent here. But I do think riding that wave of momentum, looking back to 2016 is that cautionary tale about certainly not feeling complacent, 50-50. I mean, it's close and a long race to go. It's going to be about knocking on doors and turning out the vote. I really believe that, keeping that moving from now until November.
Grassroots, door to door.
Absolutely.
Connor, what's the key for Democrats to win Pennsylvania?
I would have to reiterate grassroots, door to door. I mean, I think Pennsylvania has a lot of Democrats, but I think there are a lot of center-left Democrats who I think, you know, maybe are a little bit ambivalent about who to vote for or whether they want to go to vote. And I think it's door knocking, convincing them, and making sure that they have a plan to vote.
And how about the Republicans? What do you think? What's the key to Donald Trump winning Pennsylvania, Isabel?
Honestly, there's rumors swirling actually that RFK might be endorsing Trump, and I think that honestly will help him win, not maybe by a landslide, but by a way greater percentage than not.
There's still a question of whether Robert F. Kennedy is going to be on the Pennsylvania ballot, so that's not been resolved yet. What do you think, Dylan, in terms of what's the key to Donald Trump winning this state?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just getting the message out there and talking about reality. I mean, I do a lot of door knocking, talk to a lot of voters, and they're voting with their pocketbooks. I mean, prices up over 20, 25%, 50% in some places, real wages down 3%. People have lost jobs, lost livelihoods. You know, talking about the actual economic policies that are going to continue to devastate southwestern Pennsylvania and the whole state.
We're going to come back and talk about some of those policy issues in a moment, but let's wrap this discussion right here. When we come back, I want to really focus on the vice president. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz has joined the vice president on the top of the ticket. So does that help or hurt in Pennsylvania? Stick with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Pennsylvania Politics. I'm Jon Delano. Vice President Kamala Harris has been barnstorming swing states with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. But before she picked Walz, her choice was reportedly down to him and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. With Pennsylvania a must-win swing state, will her choice of Walz hurt her in the Commonwealth? So let's start with the Democrats. What do you think of this choice of Walz over Shapiro? And at the same time, I'm going to wrap in because we only have a short time here. What do you think of the contrast between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance? So let's start. Shelley, what do you think? Was this a good decision or a bad decision?
He seems to have been a very good choice. I mean, I was surprised. I thought that Shapiro was going to be the choice. I think a lot of folks did, particularly in Pennsylvania. I think Walz will still play very well here. I think, you know, he has that sort of down-home charm that appeals to some of these Rust Belt states. I don't think that he's a problem for Pennsylvania for any reason. I think he compares very favorably to J.D. Vance, who the last time I was here a month ago was looking pretty good, and some of the shine is off of J.D. Vance, I think, particularly with independents and middle-of-the-road voters.
Isabella, let me turn back to you. What do you think? Did the vice president, did Kamala Harris make a mistake by going for Walz over Shapiro?
I think she did make a mistake, especially for our Commonwealth, but I'm happy with her mistake. I think Governor Shapiro would have been a powerhouse, honestly. He is very well spoken. He's done a lot for our Commonwealth, but you know, Tim Walz is very radical. He has a lot of radical policies, which I think that's going to come up in the debates later on in a few months, right. And the people will see how he is.
So in your view, she picked the more left wing of the candidates?
By far, yes.
By far. Connor, what do you think about this choice?
I think I agree with what's been said, that I think Shapiro might have helped the vice president a bit more in Pennsylvania, but I really do like Tim Walz. I think we're still learning a bit about him, but he does seem to have the ability to ad-lib some lines that maybe get some resonance. I'm thinking of the weird comment.
The weird
that
comment,
kind of got some resonance. And, you know, regardless of what you think of it, I think there's something to be said for the fact that he's willing to be a bit more casual, fun campaigner who can maybe get some, honestly, back to our comments about TikTok, viral lines that get some.
Can he outdo J.D. Vance?
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. All right, Dylan, I'm giving you the last word here. Did Shapiro, the failure to pick Shapiro, was that a political mistake?
I think so. I think the VP choice coming down to Walz or Shapiro was whether the Harris campaign wanted to try to get the facade of being moderate, or whether they wanted to lean into the furthest left wing of their party with someone like Tim Walz, who said that socialism is actually just neighborliness. I don't think that plays well in Pennsylvania. I mean, Pennsylvania doesn't want socialism, like Tim Walz clearly does, and that contrast between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance, I think, is going to become a lot more clear in the debates, and I think they'll start regretting caving to the pro-Hamas wing of their party by throwing Josh Shapiro to the wolves.
Tough comments, but the good ones. Thank you very much to all of you for your discussion on this. When we come back, we want to talk policy, from inflation to housing to the border. What does our panel think of the candidates' various proposals? Stick with us. Welcome back to Inside PA Politics. When we started the show last spring, we said we wanted to make sure it was not about the horse race of the election, that it is not about the odds of the outcome, but the stakes for the country and the Commonwealth. To that end, the candidates' policy positions are taking shape. First, inflation and cost of living. One proposal from the Harris campaign to tackle the high cost of living is going after companies that are price gouging or raising prices well beyond inflation. The Harris campaign is proposing the first federal law to limit price hikes, like 37 states with similar laws. The Trump campaign is promising to bring about widespread price drops on gasoline and electricity and increasing U.S. energy production. Trump has also proposed removing taxes on tips and Social Security. Let's start with the Democrats. What are your thoughts, Shelley, on these proposals?
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to Harris, we're still so early in the infancy of this campaign that we don't have a lot of specifics yet. I'm happy to see that she's talking right out of the gate about addressing these things. I think as we cruise a little bit further into the fall and we get a little bit more meat on the bones of how she's going to handle these things, it's great. But so far, we're talking about things that are certainly going to appeal to voters.
Well, price gouging is one, and Senator Casey, for example, has been long on that list talking about. What do you think, Connor? Is this a good message for Vice President Harris?
I think it's a good message. I think the fact that this is a policy that's been in place in many states bodes well for it in the sense that we already have evidence of it working. And I also, I mean, on these points, I'm happy to see her taking up some of Trump's proposals about taxes on tips, because I think that that is something that will be popular with people. And regardless of origin, I think it will be a popular policy.
Well, talking about former President Trump, obviously everybody would love to see a drop in our gasoline prices. Do you think his energy policy has popular appeal?
Oh, for sure. I think whenever we are energy independent, the prices go down. We're not relying on other countries and paying more money. So yeah, I think it's a great policy.
Dylan, how about you in terms of the kind of dealing with inflation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great we don't have to focus so much on rhetoric because we have records. I mean, Kamala Harris keeps talking about stuff she wants to do on day one. She's been in or / adjacent to the White House for almost 4 years at this point. If you wanted to bring down inflation, why did you raise it up 20%? What's with all the federal spending? I mean, what are we even doing here?
Right. Okay, well, let's turn to another issue that I think is important, particularly to young people, housing. The Harris campaign is proposing $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, with more for first-generation home buyers. They have also proposed caps on rent increases, cutting regulations at the state and local levels to encourage development and building an additional 3 million homes in her first term. The Trump campaign has not yet released a specific housing policy, but the former president has said he will put pressure on the Fed to reduce interest rates, and the Republican platform mentions tax incentives for home buyers and cutting regulations. Let's start with the Republicans. Let me just ask this question. Do you think that housing is a big issue for younger voters in Pennsylvania?
I think it's a huge issue. It's actually probably the most important issue right now. When we were talking earlier, you know, every time I'm asking my friends, like, oh, everyone's renting right now. And when someone says I'm buying a house, it's like the biggest deal in the world because it's so unpopular nowadays. And my friends and family, they're getting married, they're having kids, and they're living in like a 1-bedroom apartment because they cannot afford it.
Yeah. What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, over the last 3 years, the average salary to buy a house and get a mortgage required was, I think it was about like $56,000, $55,000. Now it's over $100,000. I mean, it's gone up something like 80, 90% just in the last 3 years under this administration. That's just unacceptable. I mean, young people, we want to be able to have the same life or better that our parents had, and we're just not going to get that opportunity with this.
Right. Good. Well, let me ask the Democrats the same question, because obviously Vice President Harris has decided housing is a key issue because she's addressed it first. What do you think of her plan?
I really, really like it. I think that in terms of the down payment assistance, that's huge. I think the problem that many of my friends have is that, you know, they're going paycheck to paycheck and they can't accumulate the assets to make a down payment. And I love her proposal to build more housing and cut regulations because I think that is what we've seen will solve housing crises.
And Shelley, what's your view of this?
I absolutely agree. I think the way she's addressing it is going to play really well with voters. The idea specifically of additional help for first-generation home buyers feels really great. And yes, these tax cuts and incentives to build more housing, because the housing stock itself is an issue. So addressing it from that side, I think, is a smart move as well.
You know, we don't have time to go on to the next issue. We're going to run out of time, but we have about 30 seconds left. So let me just ask you, if I may, do you think policy matters more than personality when it comes to elections like this? We'll go right through all of you real quick. Dylan?
Yes, I think it definitely does, especially when we have two candidates with records for years. I mean, we know what they're going to do. We've seen what they actually did, and we're going to vote on it.
So people care more about their positions on the issues than they do about the character of the person running. What do you think?
I think Republicans care more about policy and what's actually going on and what's affecting their pocketbooks. And I think a lot of times Democrats, they tend to vote based on personality.
Interesting. Do you agree with that, Shelley?
I don't disagree with it. I think that policy matters a lot to the base. I think that personality may be enough to draw those voters who may have stayed home instead.
Gotcha. And we're going to give you the last word, Connor.
I would agree with what Shelley just said, and I would also say that policy matters to the extent that the campaigns can actually amplify what their policy is and market it to people in campaign ads.
Well, this has been a great discussion. We have lots of other issues like borders and child tax credit and so many others. We'll have to get to them in coming shows, next time, as they say. That's it for our show. We want to thank our guests for spending their time with us. Thanks for watching. You can catch us streaming at 11 a.m. on Thursday and Friday and at 12:30 on KDKA Plus on Sunday. We'll be back next week to wrap up on the Democratic Convention, then off for a few weeks until later in September, when we will be back every week through the general election to November. Thanks to our panelists, and thanks again to you for watching. Remember, our government is only as good as you make it. That means you must be sure to vote. Have a great day, everyone.